What's up, everyone? Joe Quills here with you on this Thursday night. Welcome into another edition of the Philly Guy Speaks. Got a lot to talk about here tonight, and hopefully everybody's doing well out there. I got the lights on the background, which I usually try not to do because I try to hide the mess a little bit there. Actually, it's a little bit better than what it was the other day. I was off on Tuesday, got a little bit done, but then a little bit of a mess, but it's all good. So, anyways, a lot to talk about here, and let me put the banner up here so that those that are watching will know what we're talking about here. And things can change. If you can change, I can change. We found that out from Rocky Four. At least I think that's from Rocky Four. But anyways, there you go. There's a banner for you guys that are watching the show live. Coming up, OJ passes away today. Not OIJ. Let me fix that here. Because I am a major OCD person when it comes to misspelled things and people just not posting the right things. Like, for example, daylight savings time. Oh, what time is it in standard time? Well, I can't tell you that because it's not standard time till November, you idiot. But, anyways, there you go. We're back to what I wanted to say here. And if there's anything else that needs to be fixed, we'll get it fixed here for you. So, coming up here, um, you see it right there on the screen. OJ passes away today. Eagles have an opponent for Brazil. And I'm also going to mention something very interesting that I found out about where they are playing that game in Brazil. A little funny quirk that happened with that. Um, we also have Caitlin Clark. She is driving ticket interest in the WNBA in the season, and she hasn't even been technically drafted by the Fever yet, but she will be, I think, next week. That's why I wish SJ was here so she can confirm that for me. Um, and yes, we may have hockey action in Utah. We'll talk about that as well, and if we have time, we'll maybe get into other things as well. But I do want to bring one thing up here. Tuesday night, I let everybody know that I will be having a show on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m., 10 to 11 a.m. And it's a 1 hour show because I have to work most Saturdays. And it's not because, I'm not punishing myself or anything like that. It's just, if I'm going to work the Sunday, I'm going to work the Saturday too, except for Kentucky Derby Day, which I hope to get off. But um, but you do have my show, which will be on Broad Street South, which is broadstsouth.com. It'll be on the Bleacher Brothers site. It'll be on Bleacher Brothers on Twitch. It'll be on the Bleacher Brothers YouTube, and a couple other things. There's still things I want to iron out because I want to make sure by next Thursday at the very latest, you will know where to go Saturday morning to get your horse racing fix from yours truly. And we got a name for the show finally. Now, everything was going so fast on Monday, and then on top of that, work was nuts, and it was nuts, and then on top of it, the eclipse was happening, so people were acting like it was more than just an eclipse, it was the apocalypse, the world was coming to an end, stuff like that. So I was like, oh God, leave me alone. Because I'm a believer, um, first of all, I'm a believer that um, people act nuttier during a new moon than it is the full moon, but you know, just me from customer service experience over the last 5-10 years. Um, but AJ, who's the leader of Bleacher Brothers, and he goes, "Oh, we're doing your show starting on the 20th," and I'm like, "Yes, get to participate a little bit more, grow my brand, everything like that." And you can, if you can find it on Bleacher Brothers, you might have to do some digging. But I did an article right at the New Year. I said, "Hey, these are my goals for the year. Everybody else was making resolutions. I was making goals because I just think that resolutions are broken by the end of January. That's why, that's how gyms make their money every year, because people say, "Oh, I'm going to get into shape. It's my New Year's resolution," and then at the end of the month, you never see them again, or by the end of the month, and they're still paying. But um, so I set some goals, and one of the main goals was growing my brand, and that was the case. So, last night we got a name for the show, and I personally feel it is a perfect name. And once you understand the name, the name and the lingo with horse racing, which we will talk about on my show. um, the show is going to be called Also Eligible. Now, I know some people will be saying, what the hell does that mean, Joe? Well, first of all, I didn't come up with the name. I mean, I told AJ I like this name, I like this name. Oh, I like this one better. And I said, no, we're not using Joe Q Euthanize. That's going to be the episode for the final episode before you shit can me. And by the way, early tonight, 9:14, when I dropped my first curse word. And when we're going to be on um, Bleacher Brothers, Broad Street South, all that other stuff, I'm not going to curse. It's this is a little more free, even though the other day I did catch Pete Shepard dropping an F bomb, or I think it was an F bomb, whatever curse word it was. He said it. I'm just like, yeah, well, I just choose not to. But anyways, the show is called Also Eligible, and when I thought about the name once we went through with it, I really liked it because, and also eligible in the horse racing business, and horse racing is a horse that is entered for a race, but is technically on the outside looking in when it comes to the race. And if you read my articles, Quills picks winners on the bleacherbrothers.com, which I've been red hot on lately. Now, I haven't been getting the long shots, but I've been getting the win percentage up, especially this month, because I've had 4 winners in the last 6 races, which was 4 winners out of the last 5 days. So I am starting to get back on track. Tomorrow's going to be another race at Keeneland. Hopefully I can get another winner there. But you know, I like the name Also Eligible because I feel like I'm an outsider to the industry. Not the Bleacher Brothers industry, just horse racing. And it's a perfect name for me because I can go and I can tell you what I like, do everything I want to do over that hour period that I have with you guys, and go from there. So the name works well. Um, there were a couple of other names that were under serious consideration. I apologize for yawning. Um, Coffee did no effect to me tonight. Um, Probably have effect on me at 2:30 when I can't get to sleep. But I mean, when I look at it, I am an outsider in terms of the horse racing industry. I'm an expert when it comes to Bleacher Brothers standards, but I'm going to be humble. I'm going to say I'm far from being that person who is an expert. I mean, I can talk a good game, but in the end, I'm going to be wrong more than I'm right. And handicapping, for the most part, to be a handicapper or a public handicapper, whatever it is, you technically got to pick winners 20% of the time. And right now, I'm at 28% for the month in terms of all my picks, because I had that one daily double I had on Monday for the Eclipse races. But I do not, I'm not going to forget where I came from. And, I'm not going to be that person that says, "Oh, I'm a handicapper," blah blah blah. You know, I'm just going to be the same old me. And the one thing I remember when I was management in my job for a couple of months, the one thing I remember was one person told me, and I don't remember who it was. So, and I doubt that they're watching right now. So, um, and I doubt they'll listen to my podcast or anything like that. So, you know, we will, um, we will pretend, that I'm not pre- pretending, I'm not giving them credit because I am trying to give them credit. Whoever it was said, the one thing I admired about you when you were really briefly a manager was that you were the same person going into that job as you were as an operator. Um, I just did not feel like, I mean, I didn't do a great job in my opinion, but the one thing is, you know, it's not about being friends with anybody because you're not friends with anybody, especially when you're management, but you have to motivate in different ways. And, you know, I couldn't even motivate myself a lot of times because it was like, oh my God, I'm getting swamped. But you really have, you don't want to be fake. And that's what I'm going to be doing with this show, is not being fake. Now, that's going to bring me to the tweet that I had Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. And they made an announcement of all the new shows that are going to be Bleacher Brothers related during the course of the week, and I'm going to be a Saturday show. Um, and I'm happy with one show. And AJ knows I work 11:30 to 7:30, so it's a little tough for me to do a nightly show. Now I could probably do a 10 to 12, something like that. But I like what I have here because I can do my article every day. I can do my thing on Saturday morning. In those weeks I'm off, I can do whatever I want. So one person decided, and I'm not going to mention his name. And if he's watching, so be it. I don't care, because I didn't respond to it because um, I thought that it would give him the ammunition he needed for what he said. Now, he said to me, let me find it here, because I quote retweeted. I know it's repost, but um, I said the secret is out. Well, it was last night on my stream. I have a show on Saturday mornings, and Bleacher Brothers announced all the shows. Back to the Dugout, the Stella Report weeknights at 9 p.m. The Maize and Blue Review. We have a partnership with the University of Michigan now. Wednesdays at 12 noon, White Noise with Gerald White. I'm sorry, Maize and Blue Review is Tuesday and Thursday at 12 noon. And Saturday at 10 a.m. is also eligible with yours truly. Um, so I got a comment from somebody, and I'm not going to glorify his name because that's what he wants, at least in my opinion. He says, "Wow, I'm shocked. I guess you have to do what's best for you." So I'm going to address that statement now, and I'm going to be careful with what I say here, because probably the best thing I should do is just totally ignore that statement. But I want to mention something, but not too much. I don't get myself into trouble, because Bleacher Brothers did have a partnership with the Tony Bruno Sports Network. Over the last couple of weeks, and I don't know how long, and I know some information, and I'm not going to divulge on that information. And then on top of all that, when you look at everything, it could have been going on much longer. So a lot of it's above my pay scale. I'm not going to get into details with that or anything like that because, it's not about that. Um, to the person that actually mentioned, I guess you got to do what you got to do. Well, I've been writing articles since last summer. Now, granted, it didn't get ramped up until October or November. Actually, it was November, right before my dad passed. So I was doing that, you know, doing that for Bleacher Brothers. What I was trying to do was to create something that Bleacher Brothers didn't have because we had people that were going to write about different sports. I took, everybody went left. I went to the right and I said, you know what? I don't want to step on anybody's toes. You don't want anybody who's going to talk about two different articles or talk about the same thing twice. You don't want to. I mean, in my opinion, unless it's a World Series game, you don't need three articles on the Phillies, for example. So, and if I had to write something for the Phillies, hey, why not? But I decided, you know what? What can I talk about? Gambling. Okay. What do I talk about gambling the most? Horse racing. What do I miss seeing in the Daily News or in the Inquirer here in Philadelphia? Handicapping. Now, I'm not going to handicap a full race card unless it's like the Kentucky Derby Day, which will probably now be part of the 1 hour show on Saturdays. That may end up being just the Saturday thing. Who knows? That race itself. But um, obviously, to some people at least, they want to create a rivalry between the Tony Bruno Sports Network and Bleacher Brothers. And all I'm going to say is don't include me in the rivalry talk because I'm doing, like you said, like you got to do what's best for you. I'm doing what's best for me right now because even though I'm doing a lot of work once my real job ends at 7:30 a few feet to my right here because I work from home, even though I do have a real job and all that, this actually is fun stuff that I do, if you think about it. The podcasting is fun. Podcasting/streaming. That's fun. Writing those articles, even though I procrastinate and don't start typing until 2 o'clock in the morning a lot of nights, that's fun to me because you get to see how I think when it comes to the race. It's like, okay, well, here's the favorite. That's what I think. Here's a couple of horses I like, and maybe I have to add a couple extra horses in there because, the weather's going to be bad, or, you got 5 horses which are candidates to go for the lead. Expect them all to fall back, and it's just a matter of will your horse get caught in traffic or something like that. So be it. It's fun. And I was saying to one of my friends last night, once 7:30 comes around, and once I get dinner done or whatever, this is the fun time of my day. I get to do a couple of things, and then I go in, I do my thing, and boom, it's the end of the night. It's time for me to go to bed. Now, granted, a lot of times going to bed is 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, which isn't really that good, especially considering I got a dentist appointment on Saturday. Thankfully, the dentist is literally up the street. If you were able to see out my window, which you can't with this one, you have to look at the one that's blocked. You will see the street dead ends into there. But seriously, I just think, is there a rivalry? To some people, I'm sure there is. And all I have to say is, so be it. I'm not going to buy into your crap because this is fun. And even though you could potentially have Tony Bruno with his sports network, which I have no problems with at all. Hopefully, we're still good friends. Just because I'm doing stuff on Bleacher Brothers, which he knew about, I am more than, I'm more than happy to say, I hope they're still friends with me. That's what I'm hoping for. But to say that, just to say, and I'm going to quote this perfectly here, um, just to say, I guess you have to do what's best for you. I think that's a little unfair because I wasn't hosting anything on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. There was talks about me getting a show behind the scenes for a while. And there was a couple of different episodes where I was guesting, where I was a guest on the Bleacher Brothers show. And AJ, I did not get my case of turtle wax yet, so just to let you know, I'm kidding. You know, you know how sometimes I get lovely parting gifts, but sometimes you have to look at the whole picture. Okay. Now, Tony Bruno had said to me, hey, when I have everything back up and running again, what do you think about blah, blah, blah? I'd have to think about it because work gets in the way, all that stuff. But I've been with Bleacher Brothers for a year and a half now. And I have no problems staying here. And if there's supposed to be a rivalry between the two factions, you know, WrestleMania was last week, people. WrestleMania was last weekend. I'm not going to buy into your rivalry stuff. Unless Tony and Miss Robin come into this apartment and hit me with a steel chair and put me into a figure four leg lock or whatever, then it'll be a rivalry. But I, with Bleacher Brothers, am just one piece. I am not the main portion of the thing. That's AJ. He runs everything. Or most things, because I'm sure there's other people that nobody knows about that helps him out with things. But I'm not going to divulge information. It's just that I was with Bleacher Brothers for a while here, actually doing stuff. I was just a fan with Tony Bruno show. Now, I did help them out when I was there for Super Bowl week. Why did I help them out? Because Bleacher Brothers and Tony Bruno Sports Network, we were together and we were all chipping in and helping each other out. But there is no rivalry in my world. And, I don't have anything bad to say. Because the one thing Tony said when I was about ready to start my podcast 4 years ago, I said, what do you think about this? Do it. Just create it. Just do it. Go. Do it. And that's what happened. So I have no issues with anybody. Well, let me rephrase that. I do have issues with someone who's going to start their crap for no reason. And I hope I'm still friends with Tony and Miss Robin and everybody else that falls into there, because you know what, we both can exist in the digital world. We will never tell somebody who listens to Bleacher Brothers that you cannot listen to the Tony Bruno Sports Network. We will never do that, because even if we did say that, you know what happens with that? You could come to me. I'll say, "Oh, don't listen to Tony Bruno." You know what you say back to me, even though it's not directly to my face? There you go. That's what I think of you. I'm going to Tony Bruno. We both can survive. And just because one person wants to piss in my Wheaties and say, "Oh, you gotta do it. I guess you gotta do what's best for you." No, I'm having fun. I'm having fun with what I do once I get done work at 7:30. I'm having fun doing what I do when I'm off work. I'm having fun. That's what life is supposed to be about. 40 hours a week, life ain't fun. For another 56 hours, if you get 8 hours of sleep, it ain't fun because you're just laying there semi-comatose. But those hours where I'm not working, I want that to be as fun as possible. And that's what I'm going to do with you here when you join me starting April 20th at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, that with my show also eligible. And if you don't want to join me because I am Bleacher Brothers and my show is not on the Tony Bruno Sports Network, then so be it. I can't control who listens, who doesn't listen. But I can present a product that, who knows, maybe it gets picked up elsewhere as well. Grow the brand. That's what I want to do. And if that's so wrong, then I will gladly do what is best for me and my brand and the Bleacher Brothers brand. So, anyways, hopefully, at least for me, thanks, Mike. Good evening, Q. Well put. I am not going to get into a pissing match over one group or the other. I do know some things. I guarantee you that I only know about this much. So let's just leave it at that. Let's coexist and let me have my fun here. So, anyways, Mike, just to let you know, if you read my article today, um, did have another winner. Sorry, it only paid 250 something to win, but hey, I'm looking for win percentage right now. So, trying to get the win percentage back, then you start swinging for the fences with some long shots. So, anyways, let's get to it here. The main part of the show here. That was something that came up that I wasn't planning on talking about, but I was like, you know what? I'll kind of answer it and tiptoe and you know, tiptoe and be careful because you don't want me to be posting tomorrow morning. Oh, remember that show? Also eligible? I'm no longer eligible, so uh, don't want to be doing anything like that. But I did want to address that because somebody wanted to start their shit with me. And by the way, that second curse is at 9:37. Two times I've dropped the S bomb tonight, but guarantee you on Saturday the 20th, I will not drop a curse word unless I drop something on my toe. So, anyways, guess you saw the breaking news today. OJ gone. OJ passed away of cancer, 76, and you know, and truthfully, By the way, your parting gift, the horseshoe, is on its way. Yeah, I hope so. We got Kentucky Derby in a couple of weeks, and I will find out next week, I think, what my schedule will be. Because Kentucky Derby is a weekend that we're open, but I did request off, and I'm the first one. And I have not requested off any Saturdays in over a year. The only Saturday I got off was because I got bumped out of it for whatever reason. And truthfully, I don't even remember why I got bumped. But I just didn't even figure it out. I just said, okay. But back to our top story here tonight. O.J. Simpson passed away at 76. I'm laying on the couch and I'm looking at something, and then I see the alert popping from the top of the screen. Oh, OJ passes away at 76. I'm like, now we know how we should remember him, and I'm talking about pre 94. Heisman Trophy winner, Hall of Famer, Buffalo Bill, almost became a Philadelphia Eagle because the Eagles had two wins. Eagles had two wins. Buffalo had one win that year. They won the rights to O.J. Simpson. And Mike says, "Is it wrong that I do not feel sad about O.J.?" Oh no, we've been having fun all day with him. I've had some things on my Facebook page that I've shared. Um, and I'm going to share my screen here. I'm using EVMux or EVMux, depending on how it's pronounced. So I'm a little green with it. Um, Here you go. Um, there you go. R.I.P. O.J. 411. Even though he technically died on the 10th, there was that. Um, we also had the poop games today. Um, let me go back here because oops, there we go. I prefer my whole head on the screen like that, but um, I did share one or two here. And this is one I shared onto Discord, a friend's Discord. And it says, if I can find, there we go. Let me go here. I mean, they were all day. And you know what? Like Mike said, um, don't feel sad about OJ. Now, pre 1994, even though he did have his run ins with the law, with domestic violence, everything, and domestic violence in 1990s is so much different than now because, you do it now, you know, back in the day, unless you murdered somebody, which he did, I'm sorry, he did allegedly, you know, Back in that day, it was just like, just don't do it again. That's how it was. But pre 1994, we knew OJ for USC, Heisman Trophy winner, Hall of Famer with the Buffalo Bills, played with San Francisco, and he played for another team apparently. Um, yeah, and then once 1994 hit, he's known for allegedly killing two people. I'll say allegedly just because I'm sure that there's still somebody out there that says OJ didn't do it. But um, the family said on April 10th, our father, Orenthal Simpson, succumbed to his battle with cancer. He was surrounded by his children and grandchildren. During this time of transition, his family asked that you please respect their wishes and privacy and grace. The family posted on his account. Now, the thing is, I would say 99% of people in this country and probably the world who knew who O.J. Simpson was. And I'm sure there wasn't many people that didn't know who O.J. was. Probably North Korea is probably one of the few that'd be like, who O.J.? But pre 1994, it was the football player, it was the Hertz ad guy, it was the guy in the Naked Gun movies. Once 1994 hit, he became officially a murderer. And then once he was acquitted, he became the delusional asshole who said, "Oh, I will find out who killed my wife," and blah, blah, blah. All you had to do was look into the mirror, buddy. That's all you had to do. And, you can say whatever you want. You know he did it. And in a way, in my opinion, it's just like Trevor Bauer, in my opinion. Because even though what Trevor Bauer did never went to court, did something happen? Probably. And truthfully, with Bauer, I mean, even though it's severely a case of two totally different things, that could have went the wrong way as well. But this isn't about Trevor Bauer, though, but that's the only thing I can think off the top of my head that would have anything where people say, oh, he did it, he didn't do it. OJ did it. It's just that he had the perfect jury, the perfect lawyers that got him off. Now, it was ironic that now he was found liable and had to pay $34 million to the members of the Brown and Goldman family, but you can say whatever you want with those two cases because in the civil case you just needed 51% to say yes he did it for him to lose, whereas a criminal trial you need a unanimous decision. Now, a decade later, Simpson led 5 men he barely knew into a confrontation with 2 sports memorabilia dealers in a cramped Las Vegas hotel room. The 2 men with Simpson had guns, and then a jury convicted Simpson of armed robbery and other felonies, which led to him having 9 years in jail. And the sentencing was, I remember him being sentenced and them reading it off and everything. It was like, what the hell does that mean? How long is he in there for? Because everybody was like, ha ha ha, you got caught this time, buddy. And he ended up going to jail. He was imprisoned at age 61. He served 9 years in a remote northern Nevada prison, including a stint as a gym janitor. He was not contrite when he was released on parole in October 2017. Parole board heard him insist yet again that he was only trying to retrieve sports memorabilia and family heirlooms stolen from him in his criminal trial in Los Angeles. Now, I'm just wondering, and this just came to me, because no contrition, delusional with the fact that I'm going to find who the killer is. Well, he found him every day. He was looking at him in the mirror. I'm just wondering if he had CTE. And I'm wondering if he actually is going to donate his brain to science or not. Probably not. I mean, I don't even know what kind of cancer he had. And truthfully, we may never know what kind of cancer he had because of the fact that we have HIPAA laws in this country. I mean, just the fact that they mentioned he had cancer a while back, that was, you know, they didn't have to mention that. They could have just waited until today and said, oh, he died. And he had the nerve to write the book. Yeah. If I Done Did It by O.J. Simpson. And it was also the 5-part ESPN documentary, O.J. Made in America. Fox had a documentary about it. Robert Murdoch planned a book by News Corp owned HarperCollins in which Simpson offered his hypothetical account of the killings. If I Did It by The Man in the Mirror, and the soundtrack will be downloadable on Amazon, and the first song that will come from that will be "Man in the Mirror" by Michael Jackson. Now, the Goldman family, who is still pursuing the $1 million wrongful death judgment, won control of the manuscript. They retitled the book "If I Did It: Confessions of the Killer." David Cook, an attorney who had been seeking since 2008 to collect a civil judgment in the Ron Goldman case, said he spoke with Fred Goldman, father of Ron Goldman, who O.J. killed, on Thursday about Simpson's death. Cook declined to say what Goldman said or where he was, but Goldman talked to NBC News, and he said that Simpson's death is just a further reminder of Ron being gone all these years. It's no great loss to the world. And that's the case, I mean, it's been a long time since we celebrated somebody's death, and that it's probably wrong to say that, but because if you really think about it, he's the son of these parents and blah blah blah. Even though his parents have been long gone, probably because he was 76, his parents were probably about 105 if they were still alive. But but I said that he was a Hertz pitch man. He was this, he was that, but he's forever going to be known as the guy who, now I'm going to use finger quotes here for those that are listening after the fact, allegedly killed those two, even though we know he did. Because, the police had all the information. It's just that the result did not turn out the way that they expected. And this monster is gone. Good riddance. And like I had said earlier today, I was making this reference today And let me get through this here. And hopefully you'll be able to hear this, and hopefully it doesn't get flagged. Because personally, I don't care, but no, not that. Let's go get rid of that. So let me do that. Okay, and this is the very first thing I thought of today once I finally had some coffee in me. This is the thing I was talking about, and I was joking around every opportunity somebody was talking about O.J. Simpson today. So this is from an Adam Sandler movie, Little Nicky, and I think you will laugh because this is so true, and this is something that should be done with OJ. So here you go. So yeah, that was the first thing I thought of today once I woke up and started getting my stuff together. So, uh, and that was the reference I was making a lot of times today. Uh, and Mike says there are too many athletes that are not known about their successes, but their wrongdoings. And Mike also said, so that's the pineapple reference. Yeah. Now, it's not the other pineapple reference, which is in American culture, where if you have a pineapple a certain way at the supermarket, and I don't know which way it is, and personally, I don't buy pineapples anyway. If you have your pineapple a certain way in your shopping cart, it means you're swingers. So, um, but, and I learned that from Preston and Steve, by the way. But um, but that scene is what I was referencing by the pineapple reference. Um, every day at 4 o'clock, Hitler gets a pineapple shoved up his ass, and I'm sure OJ should get the same treatment as well. So that's the pineapple reference I was making earlier today. So now I did mention that OJ almost became an Eagle, and credit to Craig Legans, who I'm friends with on Facebook. He's I think he works with WMMR, but like he's you know like he tells you everything that's Black history, and like I always say, whether it's Black history or wherever there's a controversy with something, I'm just like, let me learn. Tell me. And he was mentioning how OJ almost became an Eagle, but and it's hard to segue from death to something like this, but the Eagles have their opponent for their Brazil opener. So, female Eagles fans, get your Brazilians. Uh, Play the song "The Brazilian" by Genesis from the Invisible Touch album. And that's the only Brazilian things I can think of off the top of my head that aren't related to soccer or sports or anything like that. But the Philadelphia Eagles will be playing the Green Bay Packers on the Friday to open the season, which everybody in Philadelphia is saying, oh, it's going to be Cleveland, it's going to be Pittsburgh, it's going to be one of these two. Well, it's Green Bay. And, you give it a matchup where you make a matchup where people are going to watch. If you put on there, because you're not going to put a division game. You're not going to put New York. You're not going to put Washington. You're not going to put Dallas. And Pittsburgh is kind of one of those where it's like, do we really want to? Because that's a draw, because it's the Battle of Pennsylvania. You could, and Cleveland's an up and coming team, but it's a non-conference game. And some people were complaining on Twitter yesterday that, oh, but it's a conference game, and can you imagine losing losing a tiebreaker to the Packers because you had to play a game in Brazil instead of having it at Lincoln Financial Field? Shut up. But with this matchup announcement, it is officially NFL Schedule League season, not Take a League season, where I should have looked up that story from yesterday, where Seth the bus driver went into a store to take a leak and he didn't put his bus in the emergency brake on, the parking brake, and the bus crashed into a pole. but the Eagles will be playing Green Bay on the Thursday after Labor Day, or the Friday after Labor Day. And it's the first Friday home opener. Will the Eagles send the Green? Will they send Green Bay packing? Maybe. All I know is a lot of people in Brazil pack heat because that's a third world country, and we know that that swimmer a couple years ago when the Summer Olympics were down there in the middle of winter there. He faked a shooting incident or something, but so it's in Sao Paulo, and the game's going to take place at Corinthians Arena, home of the Brazilian soccer team. Corinthians, nice name for the stadium. Now, the venue was used at the 2014 World Cup and the 2016 Rio Olympics. Now, Corinthians has an informal ban on the color green because green is the color of their bitter rival Palmeiras. Now, that's ironic because both teams wear green. Now, I didn't look it up. I wonder what shade of green it is. Is it Kelly green? Because if it's Kelly green, I'll run for mayor in 4 years, and I'll put on there one of the things that if I win, we're going to ban Kelly green and powder blue in the city. Except for the Union. Even though they technically play in Delaware County. But I will keep those City Connect jerseys, even though they do have that fade from light blue to black, which I don't like. It's just the fade of colors I don't like. But anyways, so the Eagles are set to wear green as the home team, their midnight green uniforms. Now in 2021, Corinthians find their striker Joe, because soccer guys in Brazil, they have one name, like Pele, fuckface, things like that. Now Joe later said the boots were actually turquoise blue, so they take that rivalry seriously. And, we take our rivalry seriously in the United States, and we as Philly sports fans take our rivalry seriously. But if you think about it, soccer will drive people insane. If you think Eagles Cowboys is insane, if you think Flyers Rangers is insane, Flyers and Pittsburgh, Sixers and Celtics, which could be a first round matchup. And by the way, the Flyers did win tonight 4-1, shockingly. And Mike said it best. Yup, Dallas sucks. Now, there is a precedent for teams wearing jerseys with touches of green at the stadium. Brazil and Nigeria, who incorporated green in their jerseys, played at the venue during the 2016 Olympics. Nigeria played in their white away shirt with green numbers, and Brazil played their famous yellow jerseys with green trim. But you're going to have Green Bay with their green letters, green lettering and numbering on their jerseys. You're going to have the green trim on the pants. You got the green stripes on the helmet. But you have the Eagles that are going to be wearing their midnight green, their Super Bowl colors for that game. So I think it's more, like they said, it's an informal ban because of a soccer rivalry. I think it's internal with that team. It isn't anything with the fact that you have two football teams that wear green all of a sudden playing there. It's about the other football that ban is in play. But I thought it was pretty interesting that two teams that wear green are playing on a field where the soccer team that plays in that stadium bans the color green because of their rivalry with the other team. Now, this will mark the second Packers international game in the last 3 years, and it's only the second international game that they ever played in the regular season. Their first regular season outside the United States was in 2022 when they lost 27-22 to the Giants at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. And it's also the Eagles' second regular season game that they played. They played back in 2018 where they beat up on Jacksonville. Now, for those that are outside of the Green Bay / Milwaukee market and outside the Philadelphia market, the game will stream exclusively on Peacock, otherwise known as the Cock, and it will be available on free broadcast television in the local market of the Eagles and Packers. So, Eagles fans, Packers fans, don't get your panties in a bunch. You are going to have that game on live TV. And Mike, if you can see there on the bottom side, I took that TV that I used to have in the living room that was starting to have problems with. I moved that out here because I did a live, a side cast of the Phillies home opener, and since it was on Channel 10, I was like, you know what? I got an antenna for that, and I actually did the game that way. So I had the desk over there, and I was doing the game there, and I wasn't on screen for 3 hours. I just showed the ESPN screen or whatever, but that may be a September. That may be a September sidecast. Who knows? Because it's a Friday night. It won't conflict with my Saturday horse racing show if I don't get kicked out of Bleacher Brothers by then. And it will not conflict with my Tuesday and Thursday shows. I may just do a Tuesday show that week because, I'm going to be going against the NFL. Might have to do 2 sidecasts. Who knows? But whatever it is, at least in Philadelphia, it is Eagles and Packers, and we get it on our local NBC affiliate. And the others, you just got to watch it on the Cock. I mentioned Caitlin Clark. She's also getting her number retired, which is not part of why I'm mentioning this, but Caitlin Clark is going to be the number one pick in the WNBA draft, which I believe is next week. And I wish SJ was here. I actually talked to her earlier tonight um, because I won a contest on Ball is Life, and you know, and I should have told her when I was in that message with her. It's like, oh, by the way, April 15th. That's the day of the draft, Mike. Because we know that's a real taxing day. Yeah, it is. Okay, so we know April 15th is a real taxing day, but not for me. I already did my taxes. But she's the presumptive first overall pick. Okay, if I read what I highlighted, I would know that it's Monday, which is the day after Sunday. She's the presumptive first overall pick in Monday's WNBA draft. It's driving an uptick in interest in ticket prices to see the Indiana Fever, which hold the number one overall selection. The Fever were second to last in home attendance last year. Mike did not know that the day after Sunday is Monday. Well, like I always tell you, the second race always follows the first race, unless it's in Poland or Bridesburg. The Fever were second to last in home attendance last season, only averaging 4,067 fans. They would only confirm a spike in ticket interest. They didn't want to give details of anything else. But the team is responding to a surge of interest by taking the unprecedented step of pre-selling single game tickets to 2 games per day over a 15-day stretch heading into Monday. But those pre-sale tickets have been selling briskly. And I'm imagining you could even see an 18,000 seat sellout at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse, which is the home arena for the Fever and Pacers. Now, Vivid Seats Marketplace is reporting that the team's regular season opener at Connecticut has seen a price increase of 91% since Clark declared for the draft. The home opener against the Liberty has seen a 50% price increase since Clark declared, according to Vivid Seats. Now, even when I found this story, I even looked at the schedule because, like, I could go up to Brooklyn to see the Liberty. I could go to D.C. It doesn't work out. But SeatGeek is saying that the average resale price for home games is currently $182, a 136% increase from 2023. That kind of a shift is typically only seen in the NBA, coming as a result of a player like LeBron James changing teams. But I will definitely say this. When you look at Vivid Seats, you look at SeatGeek, you look at StubHub, that's secondary market. Now, you can get tickets cheap as hell on there if you want. I mean, a couple of times I went to concerts over in Camden and paid $10. But you can also get charge an arm and a leg. Like, I mean, you look at the World Series in 2022, because the Phillies hadn't been in the World Series since 2009. Ticket prices were through the roof, and a lot of Philly fans were going to Houston to watch the World Series because their prices were a lot cheaper because they had been to the World Series a few times since 2017 when they cheated. Even though I still kind of give Houston credit because they had to win Game 7 on the road without their trash can, without their cameras and everything. I still give some credit for that. And I said that to a Houston fan before. I said, listen, I give them some credit because they had to win on the road. But But SeatGeek Director of Growth Marketing Chris Layden said, "This is definitely the most significant example I can think of on the women's side where tickets have gone like that. The interest is not limited to Fever home games. Now, the Las Vegas Aces, who are the two-time defending champions, they recently moved the July 2nd game against Indiana from Michelob Ultra Arena to the larger T-Mobile Arena as a direct result of heightened demand for tickets, according to a team spokesman. The team has played several games at T-Mobile Arena in the past, and one of them was last year, and I keep mentioning SJ, and I said that how, you know, because I tried to ask her, why are they playing at T-Mobile? And she didn't know, and I wasn't going to hold it against her. But um, in the past, when the Aces moved their games to T-Mobile, they moved it because of scheduling conflicts. This is because of supply and demand that they're doing it. So, and also, Caitlin Clark is driving interest in the league because she will be a part of 30. Her soon to be Indiana Fever will have 36 of their 40 games shown on national broadcaster streaming partners. So the Indiana Fever are getting a whole lot of interest. And Mike says Clark is going to be good for the WNBA, and I agree. The only concern I have is, and of course, you can hold it against me, and maybe it was just a one-game thing because the way South Carolina plays the game and stuff like that. I'm just wondering, is she that good of a ball handler, or was it just a perfect storm of championship game trying to do too much? And mind you, I hadn't seen every single Iowa game. I can barely watch a couple of games because half the time I don't know there's a game on, and if there is a game on, I'm probably watching something else, or probably not even home, because sometimes life does get in the way of things. But and don't hold it against me when she wins a championship in the first 2 years, and oh, I thought you said she was a bad ball handler. I'm just questioning that game. Was it just because of the way South Carolina played? Was it the pressure of the moment? It could be many different things here. But I just think you have to realize that it's more than just, um, it's okay to question some things, but she is going to drive interest in the WNBA, and look what happened with the numbers. And you take you you take away the variable of the women playing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon versus the men playing at 9:20 on a Monday, and everybody's going to go, why do you have it at 9:20? Because it's always been since the 80s. It's been like that for 40 years. You know, and it's more because of the West Coast and the East Coast. I mean, if the United States was only two time zones, it would start at 8:20 probably, or even 7:20. But because you have four time zones in the continental United States, that's part of the reason why. And also, you got to get that riveting episode of Murder, She Wrote in there, too. I digress. But, So, I saw this yesterday as we lace up the skates here. It was announced yesterday that the Arizona Coyotes could be relocating to Salt Lake City. It's possible. And we'll see what happens over the next couple of months. The NHL is preparing a contingency plan that could relocate the Arizona Coyotes to Utah as soon as next season. Even though the NHL remains convinced a franchise should be in Arizona, the league is skeptical about the Coyotes' newest plan to build an arena in Phoenix, which involved Coyotes owner Alex Morello's bid to win a land auction in June. I imagine he's got more money than what to do with. He'll probably win that auction. Now, the NHL does have a backup plan in place that would sell the team to Ryan and Ashley Smith, owners of the Utah Jazz, and a relocation move to Salt Lake City, according to multiple sources. The shadow plan includes the NHL preparing 2 schedules for next year, one involving the Coyotes in Arizona and another for the team in Utah, as Daily Faceoff first reported Wednesday, whatever Daily Faceoff is. The announcement on relocation could come as soon as this month, but it does need to be approved by the Board of Governors. They probably will not. They probably will not oppose it. They'll probably say, "Yeah, let's get them to an arena with more seating." Now, multiple NHL sources caution this is a fluid situation. Though it is common practice for the NHL to come up with contingencies in a situation that has much uncertainty, it is not a done deal. Now, the next Board of Governors meeting is in June, but the board can also convene a meeting anytime before that on Zoom. And that's probably one of the good things that has come out after COVID is you can have virtual meetings like that. I know that we have a union meeting every 2 months on Zoom. I just click on the link and I'm there as soon as I'm done work. So, Coyotes told ESPN they have no comment on reports that the team could be relocating to Salt Lake City starting next year. One player said, "We don't know anything at all and haven't heard anything." Now, the Coyotes are playing in a college arena right now. They're playing at Mullet Arena, a 5,000-seat facility on the campus of Arizona State. And yes, Arizona State does have hockey. The Coyotes' deal with Arizona State is for 3 years plus 2 one-year option years that could take them through the 26-27 season. And the relocation could involve 2 separate transactions. One transaction that could occur is they could purchase the Coyotes from Morello in a deal believed to be worth around $1 billion. Or as they said in Austin Powers, Dr. Evil said $1 billion. So the NHL would buy the owner out, and the NHL would own the Coyotes for the second time. They bought the franchise from owner Jerry Moyes in 2009 after he filed for bankruptcy. The league and owned operated the Coyotes until 2013. Do you think a change of venue will help them? Anything is better than playing in a 5,000-seat arena because you're losing money in ticket revenues. The rest of the league is losing money because when you have ticket revenues, now I don't know the percentages off the top of my head, but the visiting team gets a cut, but the home team gets the majority of it. I know from playing out of the park baseball and also looking at different things there, the first 3 games of a 5-game series. I'm unclear of a wild card series. First 3 games of a best of 5 and the first 4 games of a 7-game series. That money goes to MLB, and then the teams keep the final 3 games. But Arizona hasn't made the playoffs since they went into that new arena. But you're talking about even a move to the Delta Center where it's already active with the Jazz, and that's why they got to create 2 different schedules. The Jazz, well, in hockey, they have about 16, 17, 18,000 about, and I don't know what the total will be for hockey. So probably let's just say, since I said 18,000. So, and let's just say the ticket price is the same in Arizona as it is in Utah, just for the sake of argument. The franchise is getting 13,000 more seats at X amount of dollars. So the venue will help in terms of the money that they're losing playing at an arena like that. Now, in terms of rental but it's the same owner, so probably won't be any rental fees involved. But a change of venue in terms of tickets and also boxes as well, because I don't think Mullet Arena on Arizona State's campus has many boxes, if any at all, because it's built for college hockey. It's not built for the NHL, and this is it was just a stopgap thing because the city of Glendale told them to get out, and that's why that was the basis of my argument that Oakland, when the A's were starting to move, they were saying, the A's were saying, we're moving, we're going to Vegas, and they said, no, we're still trying to get a stadium for you. They said, no, too late. I personally think what Oakland should have did, instead of saying, guess what, you violated the contract that we have here, get out. Because a landlord could tell a tenant to get out for many different reasons, but the team could say, well, you aren't putting this into the stadium to make it habitable, and being able to flush a toilet without it backflowing onto the field. But now, in this first scenario, after purchasing the team, the NHL would then sell the Coyotes to Smith at a price that could be as high as $1.3 billion, much higher than the $650 million expansion fee that the Kraken owners paid in 2021 to join the league. And source tells the NHL the other 31 owners would split $300 million as part of the sale. There's also a possibility that part of the deal, Morello would be first in line to purchase an NHL expansion team should the league decide to return to Arizona. The Phoenix area has been a desirable one for the league as a television market and due to its proximity to other U.S.-based Western Conference teams. Because you got Colorado to the northeast. If the Coyotes go to Utah, then they have an instant geographic rivalry there. You got Vegas, you got LA, you got Anaheim. You got a whole bunch of teams in that area. Now, a well-plugged-in NHL source said the NHL has a deep-pocketed owner that desperately wants the team and that they want to have it part of their family, meaning the Smith family. Now, back in January, the NHL started receiving overtures from several markets seeking to join the league. The chief one was Salt Lake City, and sources said Bettman and Smith have built a trusting relationship over the past several years. Um, Bettman has said they're not looking to expand or relocate teams. Bettman said the All-Star game that the Utah expression of interest has been um, the most aggressive and has carried out a lot of energy with it. And this is where I got January here because it's this next paragraph. The Smith Entertainment Group requested the NHL to initiate an expansion process to bring a team to Salt Lake City. This week, Smith took to Twitter and asked for naming suggestions for a potential NHL franchise. And I got my name. It's not going to be done, but my suggestion is the Stormin' Mormons. They're in Mormon country. I mean, I don't know what the logo will be or anything like that, but I say the Stormin' Mormons. So that's my suggestion. Now, if the Coyotes win the auction, whether the team gets sold or doesn't get sold or they just stay in Arizona, the team said it plans to start construction in the second quarter of 25. And we hope to drop the puck in the fall of 27. And the last relocation was the Atlanta Thrashers relocating to Winnipeg in 2011. Now, one thing you have to remember here is the Delta Center was built mostly for basketball. I believe the minor league team in Utah does play there, I think, or at least they did in the past. They're going to need to do hockey-specific renovations for the Delta Center to be a permanent NHL home, similar to what the Kraken owners' renovations to Key Arena before the team arrived. They also changed the name to the Climate Pledge Arena, which is basically Amazon. Now Smith is already receiving support from government leaders. A bill supporting an NHL arena and entertainment district in downtown Salt Lake City advanced through the Utah State Senate, has the approval from the governor, but it has not yet passed. It includes a 0.5% sales tax increase to help with the funding. That increase would go into effect by January 1st. So, now the Coyotes believe they had a proposal for a 16,000 seat arena, but the voters rejected that plan last year. But the latest plan for Arizona does not require a public vote because he's just buying the land and go from there. And I guess he's going to foot the bill. So that's what's going on now, and that's what broke in terms of the situation with Arizona and Utah. So I do want to bring one more thing up here before we go. It has, it's not like I was talking about with everything with the BS I dealt with last night. I do want to say that when I was talking with somebody about the show and the name which is called Also Eligible, and when I thought about it, I really like the name, like I said earlier in the show, because it basically is a because I am an outsider to the horse racing industry, and Also Eligible is a horse which is in the field but really isn't. That's how I feel that I'm going to be with my show, and so be it. but I like the name of it. So we were talking. I was mentioning somebody that AJ knows the owner of Uncle Ernie, who's our adopted horse. I call him the unofficial horse of Bleacher Brothers. Um, I did take a look because you know what? You know what, Mike? I don't think you've seen this race, but let me see if I can find it here. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again here. I'm going to show this race to you just so you can see what we're looking at. And Uncle Ernie is a 6-year-old gelding. So he's starting to get up there in age, but because he's a gelding, you know, he has nowhere to go once he's retired. I mean, he'll go to some farm, some no-kill farm that he'll get to live his life out, however long he lives after he's done horse racing. Um, but I am going to show this race here for you. This is from March 19th. It was the ninth race on the card. I This race was not picked up by Daily Racing Form for my race of the day on Quill's Picks winner. So I was like, all right, we're having two races. My pick was actually the sixth, Scaramouche, because he was 7 for 9 at Parks before that race. And I'm thinking if he wins, I start belting Queen with some incorrect lyrics and say, Scaramouche, Scaramouche, will you do a fandango? Um, but this was the race that we talked about last month. And I'm going to play this, and I'm going to tell you what I told AJ after this race the next day when I was on the Bleacher Brothers show. But here's the race from March 18th at Parks. It was a fast track. It was an allowance optional claimer. Ernie was not in for the tag. He was running under allowance conditions, and he got bet down to 3-1 on this day. That's just the morning line odds, and here you go.
Off and racing. Good start on the outside for Uncle Ernie. He breaks on top and goes to the lead. Scaramouche forwardly placed along with Hushin. Then coming up the rail, Bourbon Music settling into fifth. Five Dreams. Then it's back to Dollarization and Factor It In. It's Uncle Ernie. He has about a length over Hushin, who tracks in second. Bourbon Music in tight in on the rail. Then back in fourth. It's Scaramouche. Factored in. He's moved up a spot to fifth. Then it's back to Dollarization and Five Dreams as they head down the backstretch. Less than a quarter mile left to go. The quarter, 22-2. Uncle Ernie, Bourbon Music and Hushin there in tandem in second. Then it's Factor It In. Scaramouche fifth. In between horses, Dollarization, and seventh and last, Five Dreams. Uncle Ernie has had a pretty uncontested lead as they go through the far turn. He's had it all his own way out front. Frankie Pennington looks under his shoulder for competition, asks Uncle Ernie for a little bit more. Hushin in second, Bourbon Music, Scaramouche, and Dollarization. They loom on the outside, the half, 46-1. Uncle Ernie has led every step of the way. A wall of horses chasing behind him. He's trying to take them gate to wire here. On the outside, Dollarization looks like the main danger. Factor It In on the rail. It's Uncle Ernie with a 16th left to go. Uncle Ernie, Factor It In, chasing but not getting to Uncle Ernie today. And Uncle Ernie, he gets the win. Factor It In, back to Dollarization and Bourbon Music and Scaramouche.
So Uncle Ernie won that race in 112-1. Um, and considering that was actually one of the fastest times of the day, because there was a 6 furlong race earlier in the card, and the track record is 107. You're not going to see that at Parks this time of the year. But the one thing I told AJ is he couldn't get the lead last month, or in February, I should say, when he came back up, because he came back up early. And the reason why they brought him up is because he would run a race, and you get the extra money for being a Pennsylvania bred. So it was a $53,000 race. So let's just say it was 50. you get 60% for winning, so it's $30,000. And with the 40% bonus, that 30,000 becomes 42,000 for the owner. And of course, you pay the trainer, you pay the jockey, you pay the hot walkers, you pay the hookers at Orchids of Asia, all that. But I told AJ, I said, it doesn't matter how fast you're going. And now that I look at it, that 22-2 first quarter, that's probably 21-2 when you're looking at Pennsylvania Derby Day or Smarty Jones Day or a big day of racing at parks when they speed up the track, so to speak. Because you had a race that usually runs at about 114 for 6 furlongs. It ran in 117-2, which is something you don't see at those podunk tracks in Bumble F, Egypt, where the horses are two steps away, two meaning walking, not one race, two race. All right, let's just say they're a step away from the glue factory. You run 117 and win, you're glue factory material. But the track was very slow that day, and he ran a 112, which you may even, after I looked at everything, because I did a little search because I was talking to a friend last night. I was mentioning Uncle Ernie and everything, and our connection with him, and my feeling that I might be going down to Florida to meet the owner, just because, hey, I'm with Bleacher Brothers too, blah, blah, blah. He'll tell me all his stories of everything. But I just get a feeling that that's going to happen at some point. But I did some research because I said to AJ after I made a quick appearance on the show, and I don't know if I was calling in or I was actually video conferencing in, I did say that the race that I'm looking for him next is the Paige McKenney Handicap, which is a PA bred sprint race going 7 furlongs, which is a furlong longer than that race. It's a PA bred race, 7 furlongs on Monday the 22nd. I did some research last night, and you can do this with any race as long as the nomination process is closed. If you go on the EquiBase website and you go under the Horseman tab, you can find all kinds of things. You can find condition books where the owner and the trainer, whoever handles the stable thing, they say, this would be a good race for Uncle Ernie. This would be a good race for this horse. This would be a good race for that horse. You could just go through there and say, okay, well, I have this one horse in the stable. He hasn't won a race yet. There's a maiden claiming 20,000 race. Let's see if we can win this race, or if he ends up getting bought, he ends up getting bought. We get 20,000 for him, something like that. But Uncle Ernie is nominated for that race on the 22nd. I would imagine next Tuesday we will find out if he's actually running. Unfortunately, I have to work that day because I have off on Tuesday. So yeah, next week I'll know if I'm off for the Derby. But I do have, because I did look at the requests and somebody did request off. I'm like, I don't think we'll have 2 people getting off on a Monday with the number of people that are left in my office. I was like, you know what? I'll just stick with Tuesday. Screw it. Because I can still watch it from home. So we'll find out tomorrow, next week, if Uncle Ernie does get into the field. There's like 20 some nominees, and they'll put in there 12, maybe 14, and then you'll have 2 to 4 also eligibles, which is basically horses that are going to be in the field if somebody scratches out, and we'll see. But I did do some research on that because it was something that came up in passing, and hopefully he does run, and and I'll be sitting here wondering, do I put money on him and see him lose, or do I not put money on him and see him win? Because that's usually what happens with me and Uncle Ernie. He either loses when I bet him, or he wins when I doesn't. Or sometimes, which has happened a couple of times, I didn't play him because I didn't have my stable alerts set up on the daily racing form. So I didn't even know he was running. Like I found out the one time over the summer. Actually, I think it was during the Preakness weekend. Um, he was scheduled to run in a race on the turf, but he got scratched out of it. But I got the alerts, and we'll find out next week if he is running. I will let you guys know next Tuesday because I think the card gets drawn on Tuesday. Because I think it's Tuesday for the following Monday, Wednesday for the following Tuesday, and Thursday for the following Wednesday, I think. So, little Uncle Ernie update there for you. Um, so that is going to be it for this show. And I'm going to do something that I have not done in a long time. I'm going to tell you guys to hang around because we are going to raid somebody. And that's where I say, hey, I stream too. I want you to see this thing. It's Action Lab Sports. They're actually talking baseball tonight. And I'll send you to them. And do want to appreciate everybody for watching. And for those watching after the fact, I get the opportunity of doing this every once in a while, and I get to do it tonight. So thank you so much for joining me. Let's go rate Action Labs, and I will catch you Tuesday night. I might do a surprise stream on Saturday. I may do a dry run of the Also Eligible show. So keep an eye out on that as well. So have a great night, everybody. See you on Tuesday. At least I think it's rating. Okay, I'm rating now. Here we go. Have a great night, everybody.